Hey guys, RPG Tweaker from rpgtweaker.tumblr.com. I'm going to talk to you about my session yesterday involving the Emerald Spire Adventure Path from Pathfinder. So my party is exploring level 5, the ground level, written by Sean K. Reynolds. I messaged Sean K. on Facebook saying my group is exploring it. He said it was supposed to be one of those oh crap and like not so easy levels, and I can guarantee you that it has not been so easy for my group. So now my group has had their new party member Gideon been captured by an Undine. He's being interrogated, magically tortured, experimented on using potions, needles, other such things. So they don't know this. Zebulon, who has been leaving with Gideon but didn't know he's been captured, has been swimming up from the top right to the top left, where there was a water elemental before. Now, the water elemental was kind of like neutral and passive and whatnot, but since there was like some of the water denizens and stuff have been dying, the book talks about how they communicate to other things and warn and other things. So there is an intelligence to that where it's been written. So like on other floors, like, oh, if this monster doesn't report in, or if this happens, then it's like, oh look, there's trouble, we should be prepared. So it makes it so like when they trip in on the big bad boss, he's not caught with his pants down. He's like, oh, I'm ready for you guys. Here's my trap, and I'm all buffed and blah. So it's very cool. It just shows some intelligence on the writing, plus helps the DM a little bit, think a little bit more outside the box, and have a legitimate reason for how they, not just being omniscient, that, oh, I just knew you were coming. So anyway, the party fights a water elemental. A little bit of damage and whatnot's been hit. Everyone was at a disadvantage in the water because it was getting deep, and depending on the weapons you use and like how long you can hold your breath, all this fun stuff. So it really helps me brush up on those obscure rules that don't really come up that often. So for those who do the Pathfinder thing, it's under the aquatic terrain and some other things along that line. Swim skill also helps if you check that out under the skills section. So anyway, the party fights the water elemental, a little bit of damage, not a big deal. So while Gideon's being interrogated, the Undine sends off this modified emerald automaton that you can find throughout the levels of the spire, and this one has been modified to be aquatic. It was given as a gift by Clarkosh, who is a mean Numerian like wizard, transmuter, sorcery kind of guy, caster, who rules the higher levels of the spire, and higher I mean from 6 and up. So basically what happens is it was given as like a gift and slash kind of like a test of like future defenses for the levels, so his plans don't get interrupted. The Sharkmaton, as I've been calling it, swims up, starts fighting the crew. The party is getting roughed up, and it's a pretty mean fight. They were already kind of hurt a little bit from the larger water elemental and whatnot, so things get awry. So the party's hurt, they're already depleted on spells, need to rest, so they go and rest. Now, using the 5th edition rules, that I like if they do a full rest, they're at full hit points, barring things like negative levels or attribute damage, things like that take actual days or whatever time, appropriate time that it normally takes. So meanwhile, Gideon is being tortured and toyed around with and whatnot this whole time. So the party goes back in, and they're like, well, we're rested, we're ready, let's go find Gideon. They're kind of on the fence, well, should we explore the rest of the spire, should we find Gideon? Magda kind of pipes in, like, he's worth his salt, we've saved him, he seems an honorable person, why would we just abandon somebody, what happens if it was you, kind of thing. So she kind of like throws that little moral nugget in there, and the party kind of picks up its bootstraps, and it's like, alright, let's go. So they explore the top right of the spire, where the big bad evil meanie water creatures that randomly pop in through these portals and whatnot are kind of held for observation and to basically contain them, because there's some mean stuff in there, lots of sharks and other such water denizens and stuff. So the party doesn't want any piece of that, so they kind of like skulk their way around, and they find these 2 holding cells that I basically had made up that have dead minotaurs shackled into them. One is just a regular, stripped down minotaur that's dead, shackled to the wall. The second one has these bronze plates that have been grafted into his skin. Now that's kind of a nod to basically what Clarkosh has been doing and whatnot on level 6, which the party hasn't seen yet, obviously, but I want them to be surprised when they do. So, and then they'll be like, oh, that was kind of like that. It's like a test, or maybe something along that line. So it'll kind of be like some foreshadowing for them. So anyway, the party then finds some time, and they're exploring and taking their time. So meanwhile, while this is going on, Gideon, who is an Oracle Paladin multi-classing character, prays to Vildeus to be saved. Vildeus gives him these visions of a knight soaked in blood. It's very flashy, in and out of consciousness. He's like, free yourself of the bonds that hold you back, or summon your weapon, fight. So he kind of struggles, it doesn't really work and whatever. So the vision basically mentally slaps him into unconsciousness. When he wakes up, he's unbound. He has his gear that's close by him, and the Undine that had captured him is in pieces, shredded. And there's a brand of Vildeus on a piece of her forehead. Again, this is not from the book. This is my own thing. I have an idea that I'm going to be doing for this character and this paladin. And so if he works and tries at it, then he'll be rewarded. So he doesn't know this. This is my own thing. He's trying really hard to be a good character, so I'm going to reward him for that. So anyway, he goes to explore. Now in the bottom right of the spire, of the ground level of the spire, there's these this big room with these little dry parts, and it's where they have beds and their research journals and all this stuff. So he swims around and he finds these journals, and off when he has no idea what they say, he starts to put them in his bag and he goes swimming around. I'm like, do you have anything that makes your bag waterproof? He's like, nope. I'm like, well, your journals are basically ruined then. He's like, oh, he didn't really think about it. He just thinks it's like a video game, Skyrim, where you can just swim around and all your stuff's fine. So anyway, if you had a bag of holding or something, that'd be perfect, but he doesn't. So anyway, he is exploring one of the last corners, and all of a sudden there's this shark seal monster called a bunya. And it's a CR3. He's a level 4. He's also been roughed up a little bit from all the experimenting and torture and stuff. The thing gets, Gideon has a 23 AC. The thing I roll well, it bites him. There's bleed damage. So now bleed damage will last until it's healed. You just need some magical healing to stop the bleed effect. So anyway, he gets fighting, and now this thing has a blood rage. It scents blood, gets all mad, gets ragey, and then it has a roar. So I rolled really well on the roar. He fails his save. He's panicked for 7 rounds. He's bleeding during these 7 rounds. So the thing is trying to hurt him and bite him and hurt him, and it's missing, and I do get some more bleed damage, and he goes down. He wakes up, and he is underwater, bound in chains. There's an angry Undine, who's the brother of the one that was basically found in pieces, and he's like, you killed my sister, in heavily accented common, and he's fighting, and he's going and doing all this stuff. So he's being tortured during this whole time where they were resting and all this was happening. So the party, it's been a day of torture. So the paladin, who is upset that he can't be free, tries to end it. So he's like, I bite off a piece of my shirt and I just lodge it in my throat and I try and suffocate and I try and die. I give up. So he wakes up. The Undine's like, you're not getting off that easy. And basically, I've explained to him you've lost your paladin powers. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, your deity is a, slay all evil, don't give up, badass, imperial angel, imperial lord. And you basically, turned in the towel and just tried to commit suicide. So, he gave you visions to fight, to resist, do his will. So anyway, there's some stuff he could possibly atone for or do something along that line. That's what he's kind of going to have to work on. But for right now, he just has his oracle powers. So that's a different thing. And personally, that was his own choice. I didn't make him do that, and that was his own thing. I don't believe in putting people in an all or none situation. The good points on him though for not metagaming and knowing that the party is coming to save him and acting as that was independent. The party didn't really know what was happening to him because I was Facebooking and messaging him during the RPing for everyone else. So the party doesn't really know what's happening, so they weren't in as much of a rush to check this out. So I'm hitting my video limit for this length of video, so I'm going to do this one and I'll have part 2 coming up. So more to come, guys, and stay tuned.